Welcome back to What the Flick. I'm Matt, that's Christy, that's Alonso. We are not getting in our Jaegers and fighting kaiju, although that movie opens this week.
Although there is one that needs 3 people, right? Because mostly they have 2 side by side and you gotta like
spoiler
sync the
alert.
brains up.
Then somebody else is doing the guns or something, I don't know.
All right.
We'll talk about Pacific Rim Uprising tomorrow.
Right,
so.
but we're doing a segment today that we're calling After You See That, Then Watch This. So after you see Pacific Rim Uprising and you just can't get enough giant robots or giant monsters, we've got some recommendations to, you know, kind of satiate you. Who would like to go first with their recommendation?
Okay. Well, if you, we were talking about streaming before, if you get Shout Factory TV, they have just started hosting reruns of an old 70s Japanese series called Ultraman Leo. It's one of several series of the Ultraman series. I think it followed up Ultraman 7, and it's in the original Japanese with English subtitles, and the monsters are really ridiculous, and so is Ultraman. But if you like that kind of thing, you know, if you grew up on the Power Rangers and stuff and you want to get the larger view of where shows like that came from, Ultraman was a big influence for sure, and was kind of a much lower budget and much more kid-focused way to kind of keep kaiju around, you know, in between Godzilla and Gamera movies. And so it's kind of goofy, but I have fun with it. Check it out.
Did you grow up watching all these movies? Did you love them as a kid?
I did. I grew up, you know, we talked about this on Monday. Like I was a big fan of Destroy All Monsters growing up, but I like, you know, the later stuff, the kind of 90s and ooze reboots that they've been doing in Japan with more sophisticated effects. I like Shin Godzilla a couple years ago. So yeah, I like this stuff.
And you have all those toys. You have the actual toys in your house.
That's true, yes. Dave has a lot of like vinyl, you know, different kaiju figures.
So are you gonna get like toy Jaegers to keep them in line? That's what we would.
You know,
tiny people inside.
So far, they're pretty well behaved. Okay. But no, this segment's kind of interesting because there's been this strange argument on Twitter this week about whether or not film critics should know anything about film history, and it's kind of like, well, yeah, of course they should. You know, like why would you know, would you trust a news reporter who didn't know what the New Deal was? You know, so if you can't look at a movie like Pacific Rim Uprising and think, oh wow, they made up this whole thing from whole cloth. How amazing! It's like, no, this is part of a tradition of giant robots and giant monsters, and you know, you need to be able to place it into a context.
Right. I think if you are critiquing an art form, then you need to have an understanding of the history that goes into what makes that art form what it is today.
And no one knows.
You don't need to be the singular.
No one knows everything about anything. No one knows everything about literature or art or music or anything else. But you know, you should have a passing familiarity with like the highlights.
But also in theory, if you're going into this business, you have a lifelong love of film. You've been watching movies your entire life. You've been building this filmography your entire life. So it's not like all of a sudden one day you're dropped in and you got to go review Schindler's List or whatever it is, you know.
And it's not like you can't, you know, do the legwork. You know, your library has DVDs. Your library card gets you on Canopy.com with a K, and you can, you know, stream Criterion movies for free. Like there are ways to, you know, I grew up teaching myself this stuff, you know, and pre-VCRs and pre-cable. Like I was circling TV Guide and making my mom drive me to a repertory theater to see Citizen Kane. I'm sure y'all had similar backgrounds.
Yeah, my mom used to drive 40 minutes out of her way from Woodland Hills to Silver Lake to go to the video store that had better foreign titles.
Nice.
So I grew up with, like, she loved Fellini, my dad loved Humphrey Bogart and John Wayne, so I had this growing up too. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 19 years and there are still gaps for me that I've got to go and play catch up with, and we will all have that. I mean, and more movies just keep coming out every year. We're not going to see them all, so you have to have some basis of knowledge, but you still learn.
What's your monster movie?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Or your recommendation based on.
Yeah, right. We took a little side path there. So I am picking Godzilla versus Mothra, or Mothra versus Godzilla, whatever you want to call it. It was called a couple different things when it came out in 1964. Mothra already existed, but it's interesting because she is the first female kaiju in this universe. And whereas the other monsters tried to destroy things and create mayhem and fear and scattering about of frightened Japanese people, Mothra was there for peace and was a protector. And so she's kind of like the Wonder Woman.
I was going to say, a veritable Wonder Woman.
She's the Wonder Woman of the Godzilla cinematic universe. And so I picked that. It's also just totally ridiculous looking. Like it's a giant, it's not even like a moth, it's like a butterfly with a lot of bug eyes, like a lot of fly eyes, and it's just silly looking and fun. And Mothra has these two women who, yes, her protectors who like follow around and help her, and yes, so it's ridiculous like you want them to be, but you know, Mothra also has a greater altruistic purpose in this life. So there you go. That's my take.
My recommendation is going to be Iron Giant, which actually gets an appearance as you've seen in the promotional materials in Ready Player One. But great big robot, crashes to Earth, gets found by a little boy. It's almost an E.T. type story. It's directed by Brad Bird. Terrific film, and a really moving story. I loved this movie, and if you haven't seen it recently, it's worth going back and watching. Early vocal performance by Vin Diesel.
I was going to say Vin Diesel
right.
before he was
before
Groot.
He was Vin Diesel.
Before
exactly.
he was Groot, he was
So Iron Giant and Groot are related.
Maybe. Quite possibly.
I hope that Ready Player One doesn't undo the Iron Giant sort of self-philosophy.
Right.
You know, but we'll see it next week and find out.
Yeah. The other thing, and I remember when Pacific Rim, the first one came out, I thought, I love that somebody has done a feature film, and now we have a second feature film that is basically long versions of the intergalactic video by the Beastie Boys.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yes, but with zero irony. These people mean it. This is serious.
Do they know?
I think they do. I mean, there are moments of recognition, I think, of the inherent ridiculousness of this all, but they mean it.
I'm sure someone has edited
They're
a
pretty
music
into it,
video.
yeah.
I'm sure somebody's edited a music video to Intergalactic using scenes from Pacific Rim. So
If not, get on it, internet.
Yeah, no, but if you happen to know one, please tweet it to me because I want to see it. Because I'm too lazy to go look it up myself.
And then
quite
Let me
frankly.
Google that for you.
And then when there was Kong Skull Island, right? Was that last year? They started to introduce this whole Monsterverse that's coming. So
it's
we
coming.
have glimmers. We have glimmers of all these like '60s.
Well, yeah, because
monsters
John C.
coming
Reilly
back.
in that movie says, well, he's getting bigger, so the Kong that they see in the movie is going to grow big enough to take on Godzilla.
Yeah. And then they see, at the end, they see the hieroglyphics.
We get the Gojira reveal at the end of the credits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see you see Mothra on the wall. You see all these characters on the wall. Who all is coming. So as we said in our previous segment, there is no originality. We're all just going
Everybody's
back
going to have
the
a shared
well.
universe.
We're all going back to the well.
Every year we're going to get, this is going to be the most ambitious crossover in history.
Yes.
Right, that's the other
until
thing.
the next one.
Until the next one. No, that's the other joke that's running around on Phil's Twitter is most ambitious crossover
Talking
in
about
history.
Infinity War, and then somebody will show a picture of Donald Duck and Daffy Duck.
Right.
And Friend Roger was like, nope, sorry.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we'll talk about that eventually.
Yeah, we'll make history when we get these Star Trek, Star Wars crossover.
Is that allowed? Does the universe not implode upon itself?
J.J. Abrams could make it happen.
Yeah, there's some fan edits of that. Those are pretty funny.
People
you
will
can
get
see
mad, though. Don't you think people will get angry? Because you have to choose. Scott Mance will get angry.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Well, people are still mad about Last Jedi. There's no pleasing some folks, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, well, all right. So our recommendations are Godzilla versus Mothra or Mothra versus
whatever you want to
Godzilla.
call it.
Ultraman, Leo, and the Iron Giant. I've never watched an Ultraman. I've seen clips of him, but I've never watched the whole thing.
You should.
Get on it.
Okay.